time out. Quick little note from post-production Nick in the future. While I was going to upload and export this episode, I did a 20-minute segment on the Dallas Mavericks, and that file individually was like, nope. Nuh-uh, not today, son. So that's why today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter. I just wasn't able to fix it in time, and I got some stuff that I got to go do. So I apologize for that. But in the meantime, we got a good show for you today. We got some Detroit Lions. We got some Minnesota Timberwolves. We got some NBA in-season tournament stuff. Stick around. Good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening. Folks, thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 24th of November, year of our Lord 2023. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle. Got another Friday episode, Black Friday episode. Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving. Those of you out there celebrating. Hopefully nobody was forced to take part in some like insane geopolitical discussions with like your aunts and uncles. I didn't have to do that. I'm a little worried about having to do it at Christmas. It might come up on like Christmas Eve, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I think I'll be able to stand my ground. I got pretty strong convictions as a 25-year-old these days. My brain is more refined. There are more wrinkles than there have ever been. I got some good takes as a 25-year-old. We'll do some Thanksgiving chat maybe at the end. But I got to give some quick updates because I kind of did something dumb. From a content perspective, starting the show when I did, like a couple of weeks ago, kind of a dumb move. Because I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I knew a trip to Puerto Rico was in the chamber. You know, I knew it was going to happen at some point in the near future. And as of like 2 days ago, it's happening next week. So a week from today, I'll be in Puerto Rico. And what that will mean for the show is today should be normal. I'm a little bit gassed, honestly, from traveling so much, so I might be a little bit shorter today, but we try to stick in that 45-minute range at the very least. Monday show should also be fine next Friday and the following Monday as well. If I'm able to bank one or two like evergreen episodes, I'll just pump those out. So they just won't be topical really to anything that's going on at the time. And the Friday episode, like usually the Monday ones are the quote unquote important ones, recapping an entire slate of NFL games. Whereas the NBA, I feel like you could go up to like a week after when the game happened and you're still able to talk about it in a way that's like, that just happened, But like the NFL, God forbid you talk about a game that happened 2 weeks ago. Like, what the fuck? The irony there being we're actually sneaky kind of going to do that here in a minute. But I just wanted to give that update. So everything's fine. It's just there's going to be kind of a weird bump in the road, assuming I'm able to get one recorded. There will be an update TBD on that. I'm also I recognize that, in the infancy of this podcast, there are some ebbs and flows, some bumps in the road. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys for listening so far. Because more than anything, I was actually talking about it yesterday on Thanksgiving with a future in-law. I was like, we kind of came to the conclusion that this show for me right now is I just need to get my reps back up. I'm in the gym and I'm getting shots up. That's what this is. So it's not super refined. I know some of these segments just have not worked. Like the one where, with all due respect to the emailer, because, hey, I liked the idea. We gave it a shot. But me just reading a list of NBA players and then giving a fucking take about them, I don't know. That was the weirdest, 3 minutes that I've ever done, probably. And, it's one thing to, do an hour of a podcast. Doing it by yourself is hard. Especially when, we spent the last 2.5 years doing this show right here, and that's with somebody else. So I kind of just need to get back in the swing of things. So, I say all that again just to say I appreciate everybody for jumping in here. The only reason that this show would end, for what it's worth, is if I rebrand it and it's quote unquote the same show, but it's a different show. Something in that paradigm, something that adjacent. Believe it or not, I do not anticipate. Usually when I kind of start uploading stuff again after I've had like a drought, I do know in the back of my head that at any given moment I might stop this completely. I hope people are able to find solace in the fact that I do plan on, to the best of my ability, really getting back on the horse with this stuff. So hopefully YouTube's algorithm will fucking give me a break. Recommend my videos like once. Like, I'm back, YouTube, I promise. Alrighty, folks. Let's talk about some football. Boy, oh boy, did the Lions make me look stupid. For the first time this year, I called a shot that they did not. Well, I guess I don't know, because I said that they were going to get smacked by Baltimore, and then they got smacked by Baltimore. So it was kind of disappointed that I was right about that. But what ended up happening this week was I said that, like, there's no fucking shot that the Packers are beating the Lions. There's literally zero chance. You have that win against Chicago, and it was kind of like, but we kind of needed one of those games, kind of shake some sense into us. Guess it didn't get through to anybody that we are very capable of losing to a bad team, and we fucked around and found out against the Packers and against Jordan Love, against Matt LaFleur. Didn't feel awesome. We got an email here about the Lions that I want to read because I think as fans, I know a lot of people are feeling this way or thinking this way. And I've been guilty of it too a lot. And I want to unpack it. From Tyler. If the Lions keep winning, and it sounds crazy to even be debating because it feels like a no-brainer, but would you rather the Lions get the 1 seed and have our pride about it with the bye, or get the 2 seed and play the Vikings or some bad wild card team and win a playoff game, breaking the ever so famous playoff losing streak? Or additionally, do you not give a fuck about a streak? Thank you for the email, Tyler. Dude, it's crazy because it's like your brain is just supposed to go, we want to be the best team so that we get the best advantage that we can, which would be the bye week and the 1 seed and all that stuff. Or it's, let's play some food in Ford Field in the first round, and then it's like, well, even if we make it to the divisional round, like, okay, well, if in order to get there, we would have had to have won a playoff game. In order to win a Super Bowl, though, you have to win games. It doesn't matter where they are. You just have to win the games. So that's like the realistic person thing to say, right? Is like, who cares? Who cares who we play? Who cares where we play? You just have to win the games. You have to win at least 2 games, or 3 to get to a Super Bowl. Because I do kind of care about that streak a little bit. As somebody who's never been alive for a Lions playoff win, I've only been alive for 3 total? We did the Saints, the Seahawks. Wasn't it like, and then the Cowboys, of course, and the Cowboys. So I've only really known heartbreak. That's really all that I've known. And most people listening to this, because I know my demographics, most people listening to this were not alive for one. 1991. So yeah, I would like to win one. And yeah, I would like it to be on the back of this offense and Dan Campbell. But then there's also the part of you that's like, here's why sneaky I don't want the 1 seed. Because I don't want it to be the narrative all offseason that the Lions did the Lions thing and got the 1 seed and then immediately smoked it, Because if you get the 2 seed, we can win 1 game. Because I agree with you, if you get the 2 seed or the 3 seed, but please get 2. Be kind of embarrassing. You would have to have kind of a collapse to not get the 2 seed. But we're going to unpack that in just a second. Whoever they line up against in that wild card round, they would beat 100%. So I think I lean towards that. But the Lions right now are in the middle of a stretch where they can't play a complete game. We have not done it since Tampa Bay. Because after that, you had Baltimore, a game that, because of Jahmyr Gibbs and how he played, and then the clip of him jumping into the stands and the woman picking him up, that holds a lot of weight for that game because it otherwise was not a very pretty game. The Lions left a ton of points on the board. the red zone turnover or two in there. I think, oh, that's right. It was the one where, like, Craig Reynolds was on the ground at the bottom of a pile and Max Crosby just ripped the ball out. And they were like, it's got to be. That was an insane call. Like, that's nobody's fault, but it still happened, right? It is still points off the board. Then the Lions go on a bye. Then they play the Chargers, they were running up and down the field. The only advantage that we had was that our offense was doing the exact same thing at, like, double the rate, So we just got bailed out by them. Also, shout out to Kirby Joseph. He had a pick early in that game, right? On the sideline. One that I was like, that's just not an interception. Like, just don't even celebrate it. Like, next play. And they show the replay. Even Jim Nantz was like, what the fuck? Then after that, we had wait a minute. Is that how it went? Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Then after that, we had the Bears game. A Bears game that we almost got any given Sunday. And then at the 11th hour, and our quarterback has not played well in a couple weeks. And if he's just going to gift wrap points to the defense, and put them in bad situations with their backs against the wall, like, yeah, I can't get that mad at them. But when I can get mad at the Lions defense, and this is ultimately because, like, Goff will be fine, honestly. I think it's really going to help that the rest of the season he's in a dome. There's only one game that's outdoors, and it's in Chicago, so that game's going to suck weather-wise for sure. December 10th, I think. That's going to suck. But otherwise, he's in a dome. The Lions going down to New Orleans in the Superdome. Okay. Pretty well documented this year that the Superdome just isn't really the Superdome anymore. Teams don't get that scared of going there anymore. The Saints don't win that often anymore. So that'll be nice. But we also talked like a week or two ago about get a little bit of pressure on Jared Goff and see what happens. You're going to win the game. But that's what was so scary, and that's what was so frustrating about that Packers game, is even in the moments when he did have a clear pocket, just like how badly he was missing on so many of those guys. And what ended up being the problem late in the game is that, trying to take so many deep shots that you're waiting on routes that are taking forever to develop, and he just cannot spend more than like 3 seconds in the pocket in that entire game. Brutal. And then it just resulted in those like just annoying checkdowns to Gibbs, like 2 yards down the field. And like, hey, he's on my fantasy team. I love Jameer. I want him to break like every single rookie season record imaginable. I love him. Okay? It's just, because it kind of feels like it's starting to happen. Like it kind of feels like we're at that moment where I think he's good and it's happening. And I was just really waiting for it in that game. I was just really waiting for it in those last like 7 minutes. One of those deep balls. And I think there was even one or two that he tried, and it was just so offline that there was just no way. And it didn't feel good seeing Jordan Love, like, can't believe that I'm about to say this, like, execute at a level that you were like, is that fucking Joe Montana? He was wild. Some of those throws were awesome. Like, there was not a defense in the NFL that could have stopped those throws. That's how good some of them were. It didn't help that the Lions didn't bring any pressure, and they haven't for weeks, right? They run a soft zone, seemingly never a spy out there. God forbid we play a mobile quarterback. It's kind of weird because as good as the Lions were last year, at the tail end of the season, the last half of the season, I know the defense improved in that stretch, but they still finished like bottom of the barrel and everything. And I remember Aaron Glenn was like, his name was out there for like head coaching positions. And I was like, what? Like weird. And it stinks because we've all seen Hard Knocks. We all watched the press conferences. Aaron Glenn's an awesome guy. But when he's talking about at press conferences, like, a couple weeks ago, like, well, we have a top 10 defense, blah, 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 blah. We have a top 10 defense, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, because you were playing like fucking Desmond Ridder. Like, the quarterbacks we were playing weren't that good. The offenses that we were playing early in the season weren't that good. By the way, they're still not that good. The ones that we're playing now aren't that good either. And we're getting, time of possession times 2'd plays against the Bears like times 3. It's just bizarre. And the thing that hurts the most, I think, as a Lions fan, is that some of these wins are starting to feel like Minnesota last year. When Minnesota wins 13 games and like 11 or 12 of them were one-score games that very easily could have been the difference between them going, 9-8 or 13-4, whatever they ended up being, right? And I don't think it's the same. I really don't, because I think this team's really good. But that defense has got to figure it out, and Jared Goff has got to figure it out, because if he's going to start being bad, that's going to stink. That's not going to feel good at all. I like Amon-Ra, amazing, love him, no problems, no notes. We talked about Jameer, no notes. Offensive line, what's going on with Jonah Jackson? What's going on there? I'd love an update. Maybe I'm just not plugged in enough. I don't know. I just haven't seen an update, and at this point, I'm like, he's been out for at least 4 weeks. Like, why didn't they just put him on IR or something? And I'm kind of actually asking that, if someone can let me know, because I don't totally understand IR. And I know if you're on it, you have to be out for at least 4 weeks, right? Well, I swear to God, Jonah Jackson has been. Is it like a depth thing? What's going on? Would love him back. Panay. When's he going to get a pass this year? Sam Laporta, like, no notes, dude. I wasn't even that mad at Brian Branch yesterday. I saw a lot of people being mad at Brian Branch. It sucks. I don't think we're the Vikings. I think we're going to get it together. That Dallas game on the horizon, I'm shaking in my boots a little bit, not going to lie. But we're 8-3. The Lions are 8-3. We're fine. You know something else that might dominate dinner tables here coming up in the holidays in December? Maybe even it just did at Thanksgiving. I don't know, because we're still in the swing of what I'm about to talk about. This NBA in-season tournament has been subject to a lot of scrutiny, and also a lot of, I think, really constructive ways on how to make it better. Like, you can say what you want about the Tyrese Halliburton, like, you should get a playoff spot take. I think he's kind of onto something there, because I think you really, really want to make this thing worth it. The truth is, I think in 3 years, whatever you think about it right now, I promise most people are going to love it. I think in 3 years, if the NBA really cares about this thing and really does it the right way, people are going to love this thing. They're going to lose their minds for it. And part of how you get to that point is by making it something that, feels really consequential, that feels really important. We can talk about that a little bit more in a second. But in order to get to that point, I got one thing that the league can do. They can send out a memo to like Bally Sports offices, or whoever the broadcasting partner ends up being, the syndicate, in like a year when Bally is dead. Thank God, finally. The witch is dead. Bally Sports is dead. But in the meantime, they need to send out a memo that like contains the proper language that they want these broadcast teams using in order to advertise this product. Because when I turn on the Pistons-Sixers game from like 2 weeks ago, and they're like describing how the in-season tournament works, and the Sixers color commentator is like, it kind of works like the Champions League in Europe. It's kind of like that. The atmosphere is kind of going to be this. I'm like, what? No. Like, no. That's not even a little bit close. That's not even a little bit true. Because if you're selling it like that, then yeah, I think it's must-see TV. The truth is that it's just the same shit. It's the same. They're not playing any extra games. Most of these teams are not playing any extra games. If you do well in it, you play what, like 2 extra games, 3 extra games at most? Like, okay, well, it's $1 million, so I don't feel that bad. The only other difference is what? The courts are like more dangerous. Guys are more susceptible to getting their knees fucking blown out because of these courts, I guess. But I'm telling you, dude, they gotta do something. They have to get everybody on the same page with how to talk about this thing. And they also just have to loop the players in on how it fucking works. That's going to be a pretty crucial piece of this puzzle here. A pretty crucial cog in the machine is making sure that the players actually understand what the fuck is going on. Because it's clear that half of them don't. Which is like fine, again, because this product is in its infancy. I do think that they're going to care about this, and I do think that they're going to do, like, it seems like such an Adam Silver thing to do, right? Although he kind of tried to fuck with the All-Star game, and he's kind of already admitted that that didn't work, like, at all. So, honestly, maybe in 3 years, they kind of can this thing, and they act like it never happened. And it kind of just becomes one of those things that in 15 years we're going to romanticize and talk about like it was this extravagant, like, we need this thing, you know? But if they do stay this course, let's entertain the idea that, you know, you get an automatic playoff bid. Well, you know, the thing that the league has to do there is find a way to circumvent load management even more than they're already trying. Because it's clear that the league is at least trying to crack down on it, how effective it's been and how effective, like Adam Silver's like, well, the data would suggest, like, is it, can we see it? Is that available? I don't know. Is it publicly available? I don't know. But if I'm the Lakers, for example, and I win the in-season tournament, the present-day Lakers, if I know in fucking late November, early December that I'm already in the playoffs, I am load managing the shit out of my guys for the next 6 months, you know? Unless the league has a strict, like, hey, if you are the team, maybe it's exclusive to the team that wins, honestly. Like, you will be penalized more. You'll get fined even harder. I don't know. I think that's the avenue, right? Is you basically put a sanction on the team that won that said, hey, you are in the playoffs, but, like, you have to get there, you know? You can't win 30 games and be like, well, won the in-season tournament. And what does that constitute, a playoff spot? Does that guarantee that you're not in the play-in? Or does it guarantee that you're in the play-in? Because if a bad team fucks around and wins and they've won, like if they've won 25 games, but 6 of them were in the in-season tournament, you know, does that guarantee them like the 6 seed? What would they have to be? So it's 8 versus 10. I'm sorry, 7 versus 10 and then 9 versus 8, right? Yeah, so they would have to be the 6 seed. That's insane. You can't do that. So it would have to be the lowest or the highest, however you want to phrase this, play-in seed. So you would be 7, I feel like, where you still have the advantage if you only have to win one time and you're officially in the playoffs playing the 2 seed. And you're at home, right? I think that's how you do it. Did people hate that idea? I read it and assumed that people were going to hate that idea. I never saw anybody, I never saw discourse on it. I really hope people are on board with that, and I really hope that the NBA pursues it. Let's move on. You know what team we haven't gotten that many emails about, especially recently? But I think they are so deserving of your time that we need to do like a quick 5-7 on them. The Minnesota Timberwolves, right now, second best record in the NBA, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, trying very hard, at the very least, for a bunch of guys that I did not think cared about defense. The Minnesota Timberwolves are really fucking good on defense. Anthony Edwards, and I say this with all due respect because we're going to say a lot of nice things about him. When he got drafted, I thought he was one of those guys. I thought, yeah, like he might score 35 a game, and it'll look really good. But he doesn't give a shit about defense. He does not care. That wasn't true at all. That was not true at all. You know who nobody's trying harder than, though, is Jaden McDaniels. I hate that motherfucker more than anybody. I hate him. I hate him. But if he was on my team, he'd be my favorite player, and I'd have his jersey, and I'd have a signed poster on the wall. If he was on my basketball team, and the reason I say all this about him is because if you're going to be that guy who picks somebody up at half court and immediately gets in their jersey, and they're like in literal prison, I hate that guy. I hate playing against that guy. I hate everything about that fucking guy. I hate him. But if he was on my basketball team, I want that more than anybody. So sneaky, I like him, but I hate him. He's also just an amazing, his 3-ball is nuts. I'm so tired of people thinking that Karl Anthony Towns isn't good at basketball. I've been tired of this for years. I have sat through him being a punching bag by NBA fans for like a decade. What has it been, 8 years at this point? I've just taken it. And for him to be on a good team, and for him to be a reason that team is good, feels amazing. The best shooting big man of all time. When he says that, every single time I'm like, talk your shit, King. Yes, Karl Anthony Towns. We talked about him when the whole thing with Draymond happened. We talked about Pat Bev being like, Cat's got to stand up for his guys. Like, he's got to get in the mix. He's got to do this whole thing. And it's damned if you do, damned if you don't if you're Karl Anthony Towns. Because either you're too emotional or you're not emotional enough when you're supposed to be. If Karl Anthony Towns was not in that basketball game, if he had gotten ejected, probably wouldn't have won. Probably wouldn't have won. I'd say he was a pretty good teammate for that. For being level-headed. And, you know, Pat Bev is the same guy who I also love Pat Bev. Like, he's the funniest. Like, he has one of the best podcasts in the world. But when he talks about how dudes, like, get super tough in front of 20,000 people and some refs, Karl Anthony Towns didn't do that. He just made a smart move by not getting involved and being like, I'm just going to act like I'm going to do something. But I'm not. Which people would say is maybe the perfect metaphor for Karl Anthony Towns' career. Again, I am not one of those people because I'm happy for him. And is this just one of those early season, like, oh, wow, like, they look like they might be really good, and then by March we're not talking about them at all? For whatever reason, God forbid somebody gets hurt, but, you know, it's the NBA, such is life. If something like that happens, if they kind of take this downward spiral, I don't think any of us will be surprised. But in the meantime, it's pretty fun. They're really fun to watch. They had a game against Atlanta the other night. It was really fun to watch. Anthony Edwards, like, doing this, like, double clutch shit around the rim all the time for no reason. Most of the time. Like, he doesn't have to do it. He just can, and he does. And he'll go high glass. Goes in most of the time. That burst that he has. His, like, concept of gravity is crazy. Like, he just understands how long, like, to the millisecond, how much time he has in the air. And he knows, like, what to do. Like, I don't know how else to articulate it. He just knows how to contort his body. Super fun. But I will say right now, it doesn't look like a team I'd want to play in the playoffs. You know, we talk about if I'm the Kings and I'm just like, win a playoff series. Like, okay, you got the monkey off your back and you made the playoffs. Like, win a series, please. Almost did it against Golden State. We were that close. Please just do it. Yeah, if they get lined up against Minnesota, I'd be pretty pissed if I was a Kings fan. I don't know if I'd want to play that series. That could be tough. Mike Conley, like 75th percentile defensive guy. How would I articulate this point? Like his whole career. And that's kind of been his whole thing, like forever, passing the ball and his defense, getting like 3 steals a game, right? Love Mike Conley. I'm on board with the Minnesota thing. I'm really on board with it. But again, I won't be surprised if it goes off the rails. We'll see. Minnesota. I'm rooting for you. Boy, oh boy, heavy NBA episode today, folks. Holy smokes. Let's do a little holiday recap. Figure that's a nice way to kind of put a bow on this, send everybody into the weekend. I always hate just doing like college football previews. I never like that content. I never consume it because the shelf life of it is so short that if you don't catch it on the day that it's released and before all these games, like it just doesn't exist that long. It doesn't have to be evergreen. So I only say all of that to say that's why I'm just kind of wrapping all this up with a holiday recap. I just wanted to bring up something that I don't miss at all. And anybody who lives in, I don't know, anywhere where this is a thing, which is most parts of the country in the United States, you'll understand what I mean. It's probably a thing in like Canada too. I don't know. When I go home for the holidays and I leave Chicago and I'm not in the city anymore, in the big city, you know, I do not miss having to like be conscious of the fact that a deer at any moment could jump in front of my fucking car. I do not love as a passenger that I'm still like on the freeway in the middle of the night. I'm like really vigilant about it. I'm so paranoid about it that one day it's going to happen to me. Because it hasn't yet. It hasn't yet. But I don't miss that at all. Because what is it in Chicago? It's like rats? Yeah, but they're usually not that dumb actually. And they don't just run around in the middle of the street. They do, but like they don't. You know, coyotes, it could be, I guess. It's not uncommon. We just saw one the other day. Like 3 blocks from our apartment, just walking around. Saw a fox recently too. What the fuck? What's going on? Living in a Disney movie? I thought I moved to the city so that I'm not around all these damn critters, which is crazy because I love them. Like in the summer, going to the bird sanctuary over at Montrose. Oh my gosh. Beautiful, dude. Going to all these conservatories, especially the ones that actually have birds in them. Even the ones that don't. The conservatory in Lincoln Park, the one right by the zoo. Oh my gosh. Oh man. You know what I should do one day is like I talk about doing evergreen podcasts, giving people like 45 minutes of like travel recommendations as somebody who's lived in Chicago for a few years now. Like I think I have a decent pulse on like what to do and where to go for certain things. There you go. And then if you're ever visiting Chicago, you have like the Motown Noah stamped travel guide. You know what I mean? Would that be interesting? That might be kind of fun. For nature stuff, yeah, bird sanctuary. It's outdoors. It's not going to be fun in the winter. But the conservatory in Lincoln Park, there's one in West Garfield Park too. That one's really, really pretty. That one's really nice. Both free. Should both be free, I think. No, I don't think the one in West Garfield is. The one in Lincoln Park is, though. You just make a reservation, you show up, walk around, dip. Even the zoo is free. I don't know how many people know that. If you come to Chicago, the Lincoln Park Zoo is free. Just walk in, walk around. Parking's not free. I mean, it can be depending on where you park, how far away. But that's like the only expense you have to do. We go to the zoo all the time. We've had fucking lunch at the zoo just cuz. Like in the summer, we like rode bikes. We were just riding bikes around. Stop by the zoo, grab a bite to eat. It's crazy. But here's what was not fun about it though, is their like little cafeteria, like their grill that they have at the zoo, is like right next to these huge vultures, like this huge like cage, you know, and I had just smoked a little bit of weed before we got on the bikes, and it like really started to hit when we were sitting down to eat. And so I was just chilling. Like I was just eating my chicken sandwich, like my Nashville chicken sandwich. Like the vibes were great, just at the zoo hanging out. And then when we got up to like throw our stuff away and leave, I just like saw this bird and forgot that we were at the zoo. And so I just see this, I spazzed. It was fucking brutal. What else is there to do? Gordon Ramsay burger? This isn't even what I wanted to talk about. I did not want to start doing this. I guess I could, though. It's my show, right? I talk about getting my reps up, getting my shots up. I just got to try things out. I will say don't go to the aquarium for a while. They're like doing construction on it in a way that like really inhibits seeing one really cool thing, at least. You'll still get to see cool stuff and it'll still be a good experience, but I would say wait on the aquarium. Even the Bean is under construction. They're always doing something at the Field Museum. I don't know. Still haven't been to the planetarium. Still haven't gone there. I even just went to Navy Pier for the first time in my life like 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. It's cool. It's cool. Not a ton to do. Like, you just kind of hang out. In the summer, maybe when it was warmer, a little more busy. Probably, I'm sure it's electric. Did not go on the Ferris wheel. Not a big Ferris wheel guy. Do they have Ferris wheels in Puerto Rico? I'm really excited to go, man. Really, really excited to go. Kind of spontaneous. There's kind of a reason that we're going. But, yeah, my girlfriend and I, man, so excited. Also going to be flying Spirit for the first time. Spirit on the way down there, and then Puerto Rico back to Chicago, we'll be doing United. So I will be back home. I am a United Airlines girly. I have not been on a United flight since July 30th, 2022. It's the last time I was on a plane. And I have all these United miles that I banked up, right? If there's anything about working at Wave that I regret, it's that I never redeemed like travel receipts, strictly because I didn't want to be an inconvenience. So the amount of lift rides that I had to take in other places, and I don't know, stuff around Los Angeles that I could have gotten expensed, the amount of money that I can look back on and be like, that was like $600. Like, what the fuck? In Cleveland, I had to take like 4 different lifts. Could have gotten reimbursed all of them. I just didn't want to be an inconvenience and make people fill out paperwork. I think I even could have gotten like attributed the miles that I was flying, because we did Los Angeles. Flying to Cleveland was for All-Star Weekend to do the Cade interview and everything, was flying out of Los Angeles at like 7 in the morning to Newark. So I woke up and saw the Pacific. 4 hours later, I was at the fucking Atlantic. And then from Newark, we flew into Cleveland. So that's like how many miles I could have gotten those. And then on the way home, even, it wasn't a direct flight. It was Cleveland to San Francisco, and then San Francisco, Los Angeles. Could have gotten all those miles too. And I just fucking didn't. Because I didn't want to be annoying. And that's fucking annoying. That's so dumb. 25-year-old me looks back at, 24-year-old, 23-year-old me like, what the fuck? Dumbass. You could be using those as an adult when you want to do real adult shit and you want to fly places, man. And the only reason we're going to Puerto Rico is because we wanted to go. We just don't have our passports. We wanted to go somewhere that was like, this is like basically a different country. This is technically international, even though it's a U.S. territory and we don't need a passport, So excited, dude. So excited. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, next week is going to be kind of weird. Monday show should be completely fine. Alrighty. If you're watching this on YouTube, nope, I forgot. I said I'm not asking people to subscribe on YouTube. I've never been that guy. I'll never do it. It feels like I'm allowed to do it with on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That just feels different to me. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much. I know I keep saying it, but I really appreciate it. I will catch you all in the next one.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.